Welcome to Thriving Moms of Autistics podcast, a free resource for moms raising young autistic children. I am your host, Dr. Christina Wilson. I created Thriving Moms of Autistics after years of experience working with families and having my own autistic child. I coach moms of young autistics one-on-one to tap into their strengths, create a supportive community, set firm boundaries, and raise their autistic child with confidence. Subscribe to the podcast and check out the earlier episodes so you don't miss a thing. Now, let's get to it. Hi there, Christina, and welcome back to another episode of the Thriving Moms of Autistic podcast. I talk about a mom's journey quite a bit because life is essentially a journey for all human beings. And our journey is made up of all the experiences we've had along the way, from the time we're born until the time that we die. And that is what shapes us. And it's important for the women we become. We are constantly evolving. Who doesn't want to grow? I just don't know if I'd ever meet somebody that said, no, I just want to stay stuck and wearing that. And who doesn't want to work towards being their best? So in this episode, we dive into where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. And more importantly, I give you guidance on how to get where you want to be. So find the full transcript for this episode at the podcast app of your choice. Please share the podcast with other moms and help them grow on their autism journey. And you can also do that and further your reach by leaving a review on Apple Podcast. I appreciate you. So, can moms experience joy among challenges on their autism journey? Well, let's start by breaking down the variables involved in one's journey and what that looks like. So our past gets a bad rap because some of our experiences from the past have been quite difficult. So we don't always like to think about it, right? The same is true for the present. And it will also be true about the future. Trouble is inevitable and we cannot escape it. I wish we could, but we can't. That is because things will happen, especially things out of our control. Now, with that said, there are some things that we can control. And that is easier said than done, right? So we cannot gain control of these things along the way if we don't learn from the past or things happening right now. Learning and growing are key. So why does it take so long for us to learn some of those lessons? Well, I know you're on the edge of your seat now, right? That is actually an entirely separate podcast episode. So the important thing, okay, is that we can learn, and it's up to us to learn now rather than later, okay? And that's one of the things that we do have control over. So that's the beauty. We do have control over. And a lot of work went into Thrive course, which is found on the thrivingmomsofautistics.com. I kept aspects of all the episodes, all the things that I talk about in mind as I developed the lessons on mindset, boundary setting, self-care, support system, and using personal strengths to overcome challenges on your journey. So life throws us curveballs, especially moms of autism. And I wanted to help moms develop an arsenal of resources to get where they want to be along the way in their autism journey. So, how can mom get unstuck and go from surviving to thriving on their autism journey? Well, psychologist Abraham Maslow developed a hierarchy of needs, which was derived from his theory of human motivation. You probably heard of it before. At the top of the hierarchy is self-actualization, or where our greatest potential lies. And he posits that one's lower level need must be met before achieving self-actualization, such as like shelter and food, a sense of belonging. Now, I talk about these things often in the podcast, and they're explored in the Thread course as well, because, they're central for helping moms of autistics achieve a positive centered life and to be their best. Now, you may have heard me say positive centered life before, and that's something that I kind of came up with myself because, um, you know, I think about the journey and, where moms want to be and add my touch and positive psychology to that. And in my area of expertise is positive psychology. So we're looking at mindset and motivation and all of those things. So that's where that comes from. So with age, we learn more and more about the world and about ourselves. Over time, we evolve as human beings. And sometimes we get caught up in the end goal or the destination so much that we fail to experience all the journey has to offer, the good and the bad. And that's unfortunate because when we do, we miss out on the lessons along the way. And the journey is hard sometimes. But those difficult experiences are like gold because they carry many lessons. And when we miss the lesson, we remain stagnant or stuck. And it takes longer to get where we want to be as a result. So here are some things to remember along the way. The first is to be patient. Getting where you want to be doesn't happen overnight. So Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So growth does take time. The second is to be realistic. You must be realistic about your goals. Otherwise, you might get frustrated and just give up. And so that's going to leave you stuck and you don't. The next is to be mindful. So your mindset is key to growth. And effort is a key ingredient for the growth mindset. Okay. So be mindful, gain insight into where you are in that moment. And be willing. Keep yourself open and willing to do things differently. This might take some sacrifice on your part, but you will be glad that you did. I hope this helps and meet up again next week.
Thanks for listening to Thriving Moms of Autistics podcast. Be sure to leave a review and tell other moms of autistics about the podcast. Let's support each other. Find the full transcript for this episode at thrivingmomsofautistics.com. And be assured, you are not alone in your journey.